This is Trans Africa Radio.
From his album Dakar 2, Kwesta is a South African rapper and an absolutely amazing, humble human being. I think I really am just a huge fan of Kwesta. He was on TV the other day and I was just like, but this guy is too cool. He's just too cool for school. And we're still with Peppy in studio and we are speaking to her. She's from FEMS and they support and they kind of encourage women to be able to have the right information regarding safe and legal abortions. What everyone to find out is what are some of the methods that are out there and what can anyone expect if they do go to a safe place to have an abortion, depending on how far along they are?
So the first thing I'd like to say is it's very important to confirm your pregnancy as early as possible because the earlier the better. The process differ depending on how far along you are with your pregnancy. So in South Africa, women up to the ages, women as young as 13 can have an abortion at request, right? And there's two types, which is like a medical abortion and a surgical abortion. So for a medical abortion, that's where you basically use an abortion pill to basically terminate your pregnancy. Then you can do that. You can use that option when you're within your first few weeks until 12 to 13 weeks of pregnancy, right? Then most health facility provide those services. It's easier, it's less complicated, and then it's generally more safe to basically perform. And then you also have your surgical abortion options, and those normally apply when you are 12 months or 12 weeks or longer.
I'm sorry. Up to where? Can you have an abortion right until you're 9 months? Like when can it be too late?
Yeah, it can be very too late to have an abortion. So what we mostly advise young women is it's important for you to find it very early in the process because early in the process you have basically more options. Once you are beyond the 13 weeks option, then you cannot have a medical abortion anymore. And the only possible option you have is a surgical abortion. So depending on how far along you are beyond the 13 weeks, the best thing to do is for you to go to your medical advisor, go to a local clinic, go to a private clinic, and then you can get advice depending on how far along you are. But then it's still possible to get an abortion beyond that time. The option that will apply there is surgical, so you would basically have to undergo a surgical procedure. So with FEMS, we basically focus more on the first trimester abortion, which is mostly done with through medical abortion.
I think it's called inducing, right? It's induced,
induced abortion procedure. So that's why we basically encourage women to find out very early in the process. So a lot of young women are in denial. So once you discover that you're pregnant or you feel like you're pregnant, you pretend like you don't know, then you become ignorant to that fact. So the longer you do that, then the more your options are becoming, a bit narrowed down. So and whatever procedure you're going to be having, it's still safe. But then there's a point in your pregnancy when you're not allowed to. So at that point, your medical provider would basically have to advise you. And so, for instance, when you're in your first trimester of pregnancy, so basically between the early weeks of pregnancy until like 12 to 13 weeks, then you can ask for an abortion at request. But then once it's beyond the period of pregnancy, then it has to be due to, for instance, economic reasons, health issues. Your health provider would have to basically inform that decision. So it's no longer going to be just your decision. It's going to be your decision basically supported by your medical professional. So that's why we basically advise women to know as early as possible and to basically interrogate the different options they have. And if they come to the point of saying, I don't want to keep this pregnancy, I'm not ready for this, and then they can have a medical abortion. So yeah, it's better to do it within the first trimester. The sooner the better, but then it's also important for you to get yourself at a good headspace. Understand what you're doing. Get as much help as possible. Counseling is important. Talking to people that can support you and can expose you to good information as best. So it's better to make your choice sooner, but it's also it's better to inform yourself and actually take your time making the decision, because once it's done, you can't reverse it. So there's basically two types. One is medical and the other is surgical. Surgical, obviously, you're gonna have to undergo a surgical procedure. That's a medical abortion. You basically are gonna take in a pill, and that's how the process basically works.
All right, I have a question here from someone on WhatsApp, and they didn't give their name, so please do give your name if you send a WhatsApp message. And they asked, please ask the guest in studio if it is painful. So I think they want to know if there's a physical kind of pain towards the
So what basically happens with the medical abortion procedure is that your medical advisor, the person that's attending to you, would basically give you a pill, and they would explain how the pill works. What normally happens after a few minutes of taking the pill, then you would have cramps, similar to the cramps you'd get when you have your periods.
Okay.
Depending on who you are, they may be very mild and severe. Then as long as you follow the steps and procedure, it shouldn't be very painful, but then it's you getting an abortion, so it's not going to be scar-free. So you are going to experience some level of discomfort emotionally and also physically as well. You may feel a bit nauseous afterwards, and then what basically happens afterwards, blood would come out similar to what would happen when you have your periods. So it's always advisable to have a lot of pads just to cushion yourself, and you also need to be in a space where you're going to be comfortable. And then after that, taking some time out, maybe a few days, just to recuperate and whatever the case may be. So it's not a simple procedure.
Yeah.
So
and it's not a nice thing to enjoy either. Yeah.
So at some point you'll experience some discomfort physically or even mentally. And obviously, if you get a surgical procedure done, then foreign objects are basically used to perform that procedure. Something that goes into your body that's not part of your body is bound to be painful at some point. But then if it's done by professionals and people that know how to do it, then you shouldn't be worried about anything. But then it's not going to be let's talk about that bleeding. You spoke about a bleeding that's similar to your period. How long can you expect that to go on for? It shouldn't, for depending on who you are. So it's not supposed to go on for instance, let's say you 4 weeks pregnant versus someone that's 6 weeks pregnant. Okay. So obviously the age of your pregnancy is higher. So depending on how far along you are with your pregnancy, your doctor would advise you how much bleeding you should basically expect. So it's difficult to give accurate answers because one person may be too far along, the other may be just early in their pregnancies, and also physic as well, how your body reacts to different situations. So then that's why it's important for your doctor to understand who you are, to inspect you and just tell you what's going to be what you should basically expect depending on the person you are. So yes, you are going to get some bleeding, but then depending on how far along you are in the process, that your doctor would basically advise you.
And I mean, I think also something just to emphasize very quickly, and I think some people may really be worried about this specifically, is the fact that should you have a safe and legal abortion, there should be no physical implications afterwards. You should not be able to then, it won't make you infertile if it's done correctly. I think that's something very, because somebody might be like, well, I'm scared because what if after this procedure I can't have more children, but I don't want this child, and I've considered an abortion, but I mean, if I have one, what if I can't have children in the future? That that doesn't happen a lot, does it?
It doesn't happen a lot because, I mean, for instance, the World Health Organization certifies the procedure and the way of doing things. So that's why it's important for you to go to a legal and safe provider, because whatever they do is basically guided by the certain standards that the World Health Organization has set in place to be followed. And if things are followed according to the procedure and it's professionals who are doing the process, then you shouldn't expect any complications. But then there's very rare occurrences when something happens, and then you could expect some complications. But because it was done in a space that's safer and legal, then those complications can be mitigated. And it's better because you can go back and say, you told me after 2 days of doing the procedure the bleeding would stop, but it's not stopping. And then they would basically take you in and assess you and find out what went wrong and whatever the case may be. But then if you go to an illegal provider, number one, you may not even find them the next day. You can't consult, no one knows what process was followed and who did the procedure. So it's always better if you've made your choice to opt for a legal and safe provider. If anything goes wrong, you can always go back. So as soon as you spot an irregularity, it's get in touch with your health provider as soon as possible. Go to the clinic the next day, call your doctor, do something. Just make sure that you closely inspect your body and you know what's happening. And if it's not going according to what it was said it was going to be, then go back and tell them, there's something I'm not understanding about what's going on right now. Can I get some form of help? So yeah.
And I think another thing that I think we definitely need to speak about with this is once you've had an abortion, and you receive the counseling, should you maybe feel like the counseling is not enough? Can you still go back to those people and be like, guys, I'm actually falling apart. I thought I was okay, but I'm not. Is there kind of an onus on the safe and legal providers to keep kind of counseling you until you're okay, or is it kind of that one-stop shop? You get that whatever you get that day should be enough, and
it shouldn't be like that. But then, for instance, if you are in the public health sector, so the system is there, it's written on paper, but then it's not really true in practice and in reality. So what we are planning to do as FEM, because we are a fairly young organization, is that right now we're focusing on information giving, right? And actually giving women referrals to safe and legal providers. And then our next stage is going into counseling. So at any stage, at any point where you feel like you need to talk to someone, we'll have platforms depending. We'll use different social media platforms to basically interact with women. We will probably have a line as well where women can call in and they can have someone to talk to, who's gonna basically give them some form of information and take them through a process. So what we as FEM, as a brand, we understand that this is not something that goes away after doing it, because abortion is not just like I've done it today and tomorrow is gone. It's psychological, it's emotional, and even for some women, years after doing it, you still remember that it happened. So we plan on having platforms where we are on a regular basis going to interact with women and give them the support they need. So FEMS has different stages that we wanna achieve. So as I said, information and referral giving. The next step is counseling, obviously using technology as well. And then at a later stage, we actually wanna also give vouchers for women that can't afford to have a procedure done at a private health facility, because if I feel that I don't want to do this at a public health facility, I don't feel safe, or I'm not comfortable with the process, and I really think I want to go to a private provider, and then FEM wants to do that as well. So there's different things that we have in our plans to make sure that we provide women with as much support and exposure to information information as possible. So legally, I think any health provider is supposed to give support to women. If I was your patient and I'm coming back and I'm saying I can't deal with this anymore, and then different facilities have their own support systems and networks that are in place to basically take care of such scenarios and cases. So any health provider is supposed to be in a position where they can give you additional and extra support. So another thing is that a lot of women are not even aware of their rights as well, because once you decide to do this, then there's a power shift. Then automatically you feel powerless. So you depend heavily on this other person to basically take care of you
and guide you through
the process. So then when this person has a lack of interest and use
or empathy,
you're done, you okay, there's nothing wrong with you physically, so go deal with this. It's your right as a person to say, it's my right to have support, to be given information or platforms or channels I can go to get and acquire help. So it's important for women to take that power in their hands, because if you're the one that's going through it and you know what you need, and if someone is not exposing you to those platforms, then you have a right to basically ask for it. Yeah.
And let's talk about the financial implications. If I go to a public institution, will be a fee of sorts, or should it be completely free?
No, in South Africa, if you go to a public health facility, it's free. You're not supposed to pay any amount at any point of the process. It's a free procedure. The only instance you have to pay is if you go to a private provider.
And how much are we looking at price range, about minimum, maximum?
For instance, we have a couple of Maristopes clinics on a database. It says minimal. The minimum you can expect to pay is about 1,000 rand, up to 4,000 to 5,000,
and that obviously depends on how far along you are.
So those are the prices that we've seen with them. But then to know for sure, consult the provider, know beforehand. So it can be a bit pricey when it comes to private facilities. That's why we basically want to introduce the whole voucher system where we can give women or incentivize the whole process. So depending on how far along in your pregnancy, it can become expensive or affordable. So normally in the early stages of pregnancy, it's not as expensive, but it's still expensive. For instance, if you're not working, you're still a student. I mean, money is a problem for a lot of people in our country. So it's just inform yourself, go in and ask, and weigh your options. Then the public health facility has quality processes and services available as well. So if you stand your ground and you tell them this is what you want and you demand for a service that you deserve, you're most probably gonna get what's due to you. So unfortunately, we live in a country where things are not as simple. So you need to also prepare yourself emotionally as well in the process, and remember to be strong, and remind yourself that this is your right. It's written in a constitution. If you make this decision, people are supposed to the health facility is supposed to create a space of support and information. Ask as many questions as possible. Don't feel scared or shy.
Let's talk about the right to confidentiality in the process. I think that's something that needs to definitely be emphasized, that nobody has the right to tell anybody that nobody has the right to tell anybody. You said that for girls as young as 13, right? These are minors. Does the right to confidentiality kind of apply to them too?
It does. It's the responsibility of a health professional to make sure that the rights of the patient are basically kept and dealt with accordingly. So it depends. When you go to other health facility, when the child is like very young, and you can see maybe the child is like very traumatized, maybe the reason they were pregnant was due to rape or other reasons. But then when you're 13, when you're pregnant, there's
pregnant. It is what it is. Yeah.
It's a traumatic experience. So some providers ask
for guardianship.
Yeah, guardianship.
That's
so
tricky.
it has to be legally. If a woman wants it, they're supposed to get it within a certain time frame. Beyond a certain time frame, then some other factors do apply. But then legally, if a woman who can have a baby who has fallen pregnant and decides to terminate the pregnancy, they're supposed to be given the rights of privacy, anonymity, and whatever the case may be. So for instance, like at public health facilities, they would basically ask you on the line what you did to do. So if they're asking you like that, like you have the right to not. You don't have. If they're asking you like, can I please talk to you privately in a more secure space? So you have to fight for your rights as a person. So privacy is one of the biggest reasons that most women opt for illegal options of aborting their pregnancy. So if you're not given privacy, it's your right, fight for it. Yeah.
And baby, I'm very worried about this concept now of 13-year-olds being able to have an abortion, which is fine because like you said, at 13, goodness, you can hardly take care of yourself. So if you decide that that's what you want. So, but I think there should be an emphasis on guardianship, on an adult being there with you, because like I said, it is a traumatic experience. It does require a high level of support. And I mean, at 13, you don't know anything. I mean, if you don't know anything at 16, I can't imagine what you could possibly know at 13. So if you should go to a private institution or a public institution at 13, do they demand a guardian to sign with you, or can you just go?
With a lot of government facilities, they do ask for a guardian to come there, either a parent or someone that's older that you basically trust to come in the process. But it's not something, it's not enforced.
Yeah, and it need not be a parent.
If the minor insists that they don't want a parent or anyone to be involved and they want to do it by themselves, then that's their right to basically ask for that. But then it's also the responsibility of the provider or the health professional to basically advise that you're at this age and maybe you may not fully understand what's going on. You need support. I would recommend that you bring in a parent or someone that's older that you trust to be part of this process with you. So in cases where someone says, I don't want anyone to know, period, then legally you can't force that person.
You can't force that person.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. I think it's very, very interesting because.
But another thing is that the health professionals are also trained as well to be those older people,
like to play that guardian role.
That guardian role. So if in a case where the minor involved feels that they don't want to let anyone know, then as the health professional, it's your responsibility to basically weigh in, not only as a professional but as someone that this person can basically rely on. So yeah.
Alrighty, I'm gonna play one more song coming out of Zimbabwe, Bright 360, God Feeling. And when we come back, we'll wrap up with Peppy.
Thank you so much.
I've got a question here from somebody on WhatsApp who says, please ask your guest in studio what her family thinks about the fact that she is pushing basically choice. I mean, when your uncles and aunts ask you, what do you do?
Family for me, I've spoken to my mother about this. And she's actually very supportive of my decision to basically work in this space. It's something I also had to think about as well. But then what's more important for me is the safety of young women.
Yeah.
We all find ourselves in different situations and cases, and things happen. I also believe that if you find yourself in a challenging situation, you don't escalate your problems, mitigate them, understand? So for instance, pregnancy plus illegal abortion access is not a good a place to find yourself in.
Okay.
So I'd rather you go to a legal provider. So the one other thing that we also have to stress as well is that we believe in a woman making a choice about her body. We don't tell her what to do. If you decide to keep that baby, you keep it. If you decide to terminate, then you terminate. And whenever you do that to terminate, it's your right to access information and support and be in a space where your mental and health, mental and physical health are basically taken care of. So for me, that's how I see it. On a day-to-day basis, we basically exposing to women to information that could basically save their lives, that could make a difference between them going for an illegal or unsafe procedure versus a safe one. So for me, this is basically exposing women to information that could basically save their lives. So that's basically how I feel, and that's how my family feels about it. And like, even when strangers ask me about it, I've had a lot of guys ask me what I basically do. Shockingly, a lot of guys are very supportive of what I do, and some of them do challenge me and ask me very difficult questions to answer. But at the end of the day, whether you feel it's wrong or right or whatever the case may be, on a day-to-day basis, women expose themselves to unsafe situation, and that basically can be avoided. It's unnecessary from where I stand. So women have to be supported, and we need to create a space, an environment where it's safe and they protect it. So it does not mean if you make this decision you can possibly lose your life, or you can lose your ability to have children later, or expose yourself to a terminal illness. It's possible to make a mistake and deal with it responsibly. So yeah.
Alrighty, and so we're about to wrap this up. I think before we wrap it up, and before you give FemSAs all the social media handles and where people can reach you, and you give that SMS line again, on Trans Africa we play 100% African music, which means that we're the only radio station in the world, right, that plays 100% African music, broadcasting throughout the whole African continent, parts of Europe and parts of Asia. What do you think about that?
I think that's very, very, very awesome. I think it's legendary. It's actually a legacy kind of issue. If I take off my fem head, then this other one comes on. I believe in black talent. I believe in black power. The more we cultivate who we are and we celebrate who we are, the more we become out and we become more amazing. It's important. It's important for young people to see people that look like them being out there and making waves. So the more I see my African sisters and brothers out there making wave, it makes me very happy. I'm an Africanist, and I believe that Africa needs to unite, and together we can make this country a beautiful place, a beautiful continent where we all love each other. And let's unite as Africans. That's basically my dream.
All right. So before you shuffle out of here, let's talk about how people can get a hold of you on social media, all platforms, and most importantly that SMS line where they will be able to get access information about safe procedures that can be done in and around their areas.
So the first and most important thing is that you need to know our line. So please SMS the word FEM,
that is FEM,
to 30816. And there you can get a referral to a safe and legal provider. Then always go on our pages, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We are _RSA. So _RSA in both platforms. We're still constructing our website. As soon as that's published, we're going to notify you of that on our social media pages. If it's not relevant to you, it's probably useful to someone else.
Yeah.
So listen up, educate yourself, expose yourself to information, and you could be saving a person's life, basically. Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you, Pepi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's been a quick hour. It happens very quickly. It goes by very quickly. But thank you so much. And that is Pepi from FemSA, and she's telling us, we spoke about everything pro-choice and just the ability for women to be able to make informed decisions about the termination of pregnancies, should that be a choice for them. So pro-choice and pro-safety, pro-health. Thank you so much. Let's get the third and final hour of the show going.
This is Trans Africa Radio.